It started at the beginning of what you were saying.
There are many times. There are many times I hear the voice, a voice of freedom calling me. Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the next episode of the Politics of Kendra. I am Kendra Muecke from Kendra and the Bunnies Music, and this podcast is all about music, culture, arts, spirituality, and everything that comes in between that and beyond. Today we have Langen Goldstien from Minnesota, based in Minnesota, and she's been in the music industry for quite a bit of time. She's been writing in the music industry. Now she's working as a booker in the music industry, and she knows a lot about the ins and outs of how this whole thing works. Thanks for being on my show today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me a little bit about yourself, like how you got into music, about your upbringing and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I was born in Iowa, in Des Moines, and there really wasn't much of a music scene, but my dad was musical, or so he says. He plays accordion, so I'm not sure if that counts. But
Yeah.
he always encouraged me to figure it out, and if I liked music, go and find it, even in a ring-ding town like Des Moines.
Mm-hmm.
So I did, and I fell in love with music and started going to shows regularly since I was like early teens, and it sparked something in me. So yeah, music has been my passion for years on years on years. And now I'm 30, living in Minnesota, got a bachelor's in music, and living the dream.
Yeah. Where'd you get a bachelor's from?
I got a bachelor's at McNally Smith College of Music in St.
Okay.
Paul. Unfortunately, it's no longer, but I'm glad I got to go when it was still open.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So what kind of music did you listen to? What kind of shows could we see you at in high school?
Pop punk. Absolutely pop punk. I still love Good Charlotte. I still love everything Finch, anything early 2000s. I cried at Taking Back Sunday on the daily.
Yes.
Or else I really like metal. I mean, Iowa Girl, Slipknot I aspired to be like Slipknot because they were just local boys that made it huge doing what they wanted to. So,
yeah. Slipknot is interesting because they're like pretty aggressive, and then they wear those masks too. They wear the masks when they perform, right?
Yeah.
The full thing.
Full thing.
So I learned that with groups like Alice Cooper and Black Sabbath, the reason that they were gravitating towards metal, besides their personality being like that, is they wanted to be able to like incite fear in people the same way that horror movies do, like as kind of like a kitschy thing. So do you find that sometimes like at a Slipknot concert or something, there's a sense of like dis-ease or fear or something like a horror movie, or like what's the sense between the crowd members?
I don't think there's anything like that, but it's strange. I've met the members of Slipknot outside of the band because I worked in record shops growing up, so they would always be in and out. And I guess to me, it's just some Iowa boys that had a bunch of pent up energy and aggression and needed a way to get it out. And that's how I look at music: is no matter what you're feeling, it's your outlet. That's how you can get out these things that you don't know what to do with and make it into something constructive almost.
Yeah, totally.
I mean,
That's
I definitely think there's aggression there. You know, I've gotten a couple broken bones, I've gotten bruises from shows, but it's never supposed to be that way. It happens.
So you're talking about that because there's like the mosh pit aspect, right?
Yep, mosh pit and just people letting out a little bit too much aggression. And you can get lost in the middle of it if you don't know where you are, or you're not paying attention, or just wrong place, wrong time.
That's pretty cool. I mean, for me, I listen to hippie music. So what we do is we like spin in circles or like just, like this. So that's what I get ready to go see when I'm down in the crowd, is just people spinning in circles and stuff like that. Like that's our version of a mosh pit. So it's interesting to see the other side of things where it's just like rowdy, I mean, I think the most, so you might run into people, or you might run into a hula hoop or something, or like a fan, but but you know, we're just like spinning, and we're just like, you know, it's funny because I've seen people just spin for like the whole show, and I'm just like, whoa, this person is like definitely in a whole nother stratosphere if they haven't gotten dizzy from spinning like that. So I'd say that's maybe the equivalent. I like the idea of, I mean, I think the most mosh pit type thing that I've been to is when Blink-182 did their reunion tour. If you could consider Blink-182 as having a mosh pit, I just know I was moshing.
No, absolutely. Any band, I've been to hippie shows where there's what I would call a mosh pit, because it's people just coming together and expressing whatever they want to express.
Yeah, for sure. So you worked at a record shop. That's a great way to start like having music be like your everyday thing. Tell me about like the cool stuff that used to happen. I mean, you mentioned that you'd meet some of the people from Slipknot there.
Yeah, I mean, Iowa, that's about as cool as it got, because there's not many great people from Iowa, but like William Elliott Whitmore used to come in and hawk his CDs, and he's got a name now, and he's an amazing musician. So like to see this other side of him peddling CDs to me, like I was 14 at the time trying to buy these CDs. It was insane, but it was cool. And we had a couple in-store performances, and you know, got some backstage passes to shows that my dad would take me to. And, you know, I was so young. I wish it would have happened when I was older, but it got me started off on the right foot.
Yeah, definitely. It's really great to be like, for me, I would work at music venues or be a part of music festivals and stuff and see how it all works and like get to meet artists up close. That helped propel me now when I'm an artist on knowing different people to reach out to and like knowing how things work backstage.
Yep. This is definitely an industry where it pays to know someone. And when you get started off early, no matter if it's a venue or a record store or wherever, you know, those people will stick with you if they're the right people. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you've got high school working in the record shop, then you went to college McNally and studied music. Did you study music business too, or music business, or what did you study? What was the proper title?
Yeah, I got a bachelor's in music business and then studied piano performance and then hip hop. They had a whole hip hop program, and I'm like, why the heck not? Like, that'll be fun. It'll be interesting. So took a couple classes in that.
Are you a hip hop fan?
So Minnesota has a great hip hop scene, but before living up here in Minnesota, I didn't like it at all. But up here, it was great. There's some drama right now, so I'll tread carefully, but there's some good people in the hip hop scene up here, and I really liked the lyrics that they came up with. It felt very Midwest and very real and calm, and
yeah. Well, it's, I guess, dependent. We'll see where the next lyrical styles go.
Yep.
Yeah. Was McNally based in Minnesota too?
In St. Paul, right downtown.
Okay. Yeah.
This one little building, super small school. Yeah, not, you know, one of those places where you met people. You didn't so much learn all this stuff. Like, we didn't have math, we didn't have science. We had like tour budgeting, or we had science of sound, or everything was related back to modern music. So it was awesome. But you know, didn't learn anything that'll help me work in insurance or anything.
Well, lucky for you, you weren't like, okay, great, thanks for the degree, I'm gonna go to get a job in insurance right now.
Right. But I see a lot of friends struggling because they didn't realize, you know, you'd have to stick it out in the music industry. It's not easy. It's hard as hell, to be quite honest. So they just gave up, and now they went back to state school and got their business degrees, and they've kicked music altogether, which is sad. Super sad.
Okay, so what would we say to someone who wants to work in the music industry? I mean, I'd say for me, who's an artist, entrepreneur, more or less a business owner, because I've created a business out of my band. It is like a day-to-day thing. Like I'll give myself one day a week off, and it might be like 4 hours on a Friday, you know, additionally off, or it might be like 4 hours on a Friday, 4 hours on a Saturday, or a full Saturday. But I'm basically working all the time, but I'm super passionate about it, and I wouldn't want to be doing anything else. What would you say for people who are starting in the music business and feel just like they're, you know, treading water?
it never changes, unfortunately. I mean, I'm fortunate enough I have a day job, so I don't rely on music for my bills. Yeah, I mean, if I did, I'd be terrified right now, especially with Corona. I couldn't imagine. I feel for the people that do this full time.
Yeah.
But I also get it is a full-time job, and I am essentially a workaholic. I can do the day job, and I'm fortunate enough to have a day job that lets me do whatever I want when I'm there. So, you know, I admire people like you who do this full-time and they make it work. I could never, I don't have it in me. But for someone trying to get started right now, it's a grind, and it's a grind that's going to last years and years and years. And even after 20 years, you might not see a payoff. But if you like what you do and you have a passion for it, that's what'll keep you going. And you can't get discouraged by having a day job or having to do other things to make ends meet. You have to be able to find that balance of, this is what I want to do, but can I financially make it my full-time gig, or do I need to, you know, do something else? And you can't beat yourself up over that. You can't. This is such a weird industry to be in. So
that's so great to hear. I personally had a lot of emotional turmoil when I was going in between working side jobs and transitioning to doing music all the time, because I started to realize that music was going to take up all my time to do it on the scale that I wanted to do it. But there was still so much fear around leaving what I knew I was comfortable with. And also what you mentioned that made me mention this is the emotional turmoil of feeling bad about the fact that I was where I was, or that I had to be catering or dealing cards or doing whatever, you know. But it's all worth it. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm still working in a gig economy, more or less. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, like, I've even noticed during this time, because, okay, today when we're filming this, it's July 19th, 2020. So I remember when the pandemic started in March, I was like, okay, it'll just be like a month or two, like no big deal. Now we're in July. Now we're talking about how there's going to be no live music. One of the first things to get canceled was South by Southwest. And I was like, whoa. Then we saw that now we're talking about live music won't even come back really till 2021. And I'm noticing a lot of the big bands, people with big enough reach, people with enough sustainability that they can put something on, like a book at a drive-in theater, I guess have that audience reach, are really doing those things. So even big artists are like having to be super innovative and figure out what we can do to go from there. Okay, so then you graduated, and what was your next couple steps into?
I mean, through the whole time I was in college, I was booking shows with my own company.
Yeah.
And just doing it on the side, and then working at a sandwich joint. And, you know, I had the odd jobs everyone had through college. And again, you know, it worked. It paid the bills, and I was able to do what I wanted. And then I answered a Craigslist ad and got a big girl job selling nuts and bolts, which still wasn't in the music industry, but it's like, okay, here's a job with insurance. Here's a job that pays well. And then I was like, being the workaholic I am, I'm like, let me drop everything else and just turn to music outside of my day job. And then that's when I took up blogging and going to concerts and getting hired to go review concerts and albums and EPs and and then I also took that time to expand the booking company and just see what happened. And I feel like I'm still at that stage of, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Okay, so you started booking right after college. What's the name of your booking company?
Yeah, it's called Distractions. I've actually had it since I was 14.
Wow.
But, you know, back then it was just this teenager who wanted to see some bands who, you know, they'd be driving through Iowa, they need a show. I had a friend who owned a coffee shop. It's like, hey, play. I mean, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was doing it.
Wow. How would bands find you to get in touch with you? Did the coffee shop say, hey, you email this person?
No, I was really good at stalking bands on MySpace and finding their tour routes and finding a gap between Illinois and Wisconsin, or Illinois and Minnesota, and being like, hey, I have a place you can play. There's no pay, but you can stay at my parents' house and shower. Like, you know, I pulled out all this stuff. So my dad and stepmom, bless their souls, they would like host all these homeless looking dudes and they come in and shower. My stepmom would like feed them with homemade food that they hadn't had in months, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, had no clue what I was doing, but I was meeting people and I was loving every single day of it. So
that's really exceptional. That's really, really a wonderful, wonderful story.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's all thanks to my parents. They always encouraged me. They were like, they had no problem with it. They loved it. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So Distractions is still your company today.
Yes.
Then you started blogging. Remind me the name of the blog that you write for, that you
Yeah,
started?
it's called Girl at the Rock Shows.
So how did you start that? Where did you have, I know of course you had the passion for music. Did you also have a passion for writing, or were you just like, I want to go to some free shows?
Honestly, so at my day job of nuts and bolts, I used to come in every day and I was going to a concert every night, and I'd come in just talking all about these shows, and my coworkers who were all these like 30 to 50-year-old men who have no clue what I listen to. They'd be like, we really, like, we love you, Langen, but we don't care what you saw last night. Like, we really don't care. And one of my coworkers is like, you need to start a blog because what you're saying, someone wants to read and someone wants to hear this, and you have opinions and you have strong opinions at that, and you're not afraid to say it. So you should start a blog. So I did.
That's a really big facet of being someone who puts themselves out there with their opinion, is not being fearful to say it. In fact, that's one of the biggest reasons I started this podcast, is I was like, you know, even when we had our happy hour meeting time a few months ago, I'll be on the phone or like Zooming now with a friend, and I'll just be like, whoa, that was like a 2-hour really great conversation. And we got to some really great places. I love this release, and I would love to be able to share it online with people. So this podcast has helped me create a way to be able to figure out how to use my voice even more outside of my music and writing, and not be so guarded about it, because, well, you know, our nation is in an interesting place too. So I am like, you know, I am like thinking about what I say before I say it, but I'm deciding that I'm going to allow myself to speak and share my opinion. I'm going to make sure that I agree with my opinion before I share it, though. So that's so cool. So you started writing, and how many shows were you going to a week for the writing? Just tons and tons?
7 to 9. So last year I hit 289 shows. My goal was 300. I was right there, but didn't get it.
Yeah.
I was on track this year, but obviously come April, everything got canceled. So kind of a bummer, but yeah.
So you're saying like 300 a year?
Yeah.
Whoa. So you've been to thousands of shows then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Can you tell me a few of your favorite ones that you've been to?
Oh man. I mean, seeing Billy Joel live, I think that was 2 years ago. That was life-changing. That was amazing because I'm a piano player. So to see him perform was awesome. And I was actually in the press suites, and Axl Rose was in town for a show at another stadium in town, and he was in the suite right next to me, which was kind of like one of those, holy shit, like, what am I doing up here? I am in way above my head, but it was so cool. So that one was awesome. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I mean, when you do it every night, it's hard to remember, to be honest with you.
Well, the moments become like so transcendent that it's just like, wow, I'm really like living my dream and getting to do what I do. It all becomes one story. Oh, and
absolutely.
Like specific shows stick out as ones that like, oh, this one changed my life, or wow, I didn't know I liked the band Primus as much as I do, or Twiddle's amazing. And I didn't know I liked Twiddle too. Like I have those moments, but overall I'm like, this is such a grand story to get to be a part of. Okay, so do you have a particular story that you'd like to share with our audience?
Oh man, story about what?
Well, story about, I know you've got a few stories. We don't have to go down any particular roads, but do you have a story of like something interesting that happened, while writing, or do you have a story of like triumph and overcoming something, or anything like that you'd like to share with the audience about how they can best accomplish their dreams? Because I know when people are starting off in the music business, they're just like, what do I do? Where do I go? Do you have any advice on that front?
Yeah, I mean, advice for doing this whole thing, just do it. I mean, this is not a place where you dip your toe in and you feel out the water. This is a place where you have to go all in. And if you have a passion for this, you can make it work and you can find your spot. Like, I always thought I'd be a booking agent, not a reviewer. And now I'm a reviewer, and the booking agent thing with shows on hold is kind of taking a back seat. It's like, I never once thought people were going to send me albums to review or actually care what I have to say about their recordings, but here I am with a stack of CDs on my desk to review tonight. I mean, you have to be able to go with the flow, and like, you may think you're good at one thing, or you may think you're destined to do one thing, but the world is going to turn that around and you're going to go down this other offshoot, and you have to be ready and willing. Like, you can't be stuck in your ways. Or as a musician, if you're a singer-songwriter and then someone hooks you up with a metal band and you're like, there's no way. But maybe there's something there. Maybe, you know, you have to be willing to try it, because you never know. And that's how great things happen. I mean, it's a creative art form, so you have to be creative with yourself.
Right, and keep those channels open, because like there's a few things that have happened. I was having the same mentality as I had when I was working those side jobs of like, well, if I'm doing anything else than music, I'm not living my truth. And then I realized like, oh, this was kind of preparing me for the fact that in the music industry, I'm going to be managing myself. I'm going to be, you know, writing blogs for other people. So you're totally right about that, though. You have to keep those channels open. It reminds me when I was working those like side jobs and stuff, and I was just like so down on myself. Like the whole time I was like, oh, you're going to like deal cards to people, or you're like going to go cater, and it's like, okay, I'm going to go do this. But it was also like setting me up for the mindset of like, as an artist, I'm still going to be managing myself. I'm going to be reaching out to my booking agent for dates. I'm going to be doing PR and publicity for myself on a certain level. I'm going to be writing, and if there's any music blogs that are like, you know, because I like writing too, if there's any music blogs that want to reach out to me for articles, I need to be able to like step forward on that. And like, I'm also an actress too. So to have all those avenues open without saying, no, I'm just a singer-songwriter is really important, because through writing reviews for some specific music blogs, I've been put in a place where I can meet other musicians, and then now they're collaborating on my album.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like you were just saying, someone in the music industry wears so many different hats. Why can't one of those hats be a job to pay the bills? I don't see why musicians are so tough on themselves. Like, I think it almost makes you stronger if you can admit, hey, yeah, I do all this music stuff and I have a day job. Like, that almost makes you like, I don't know, I find it to be empowering.
Definitely.
It's like, I can do all this and still be absolutely happy and love my day job and love the people I work with, and come home and love my night job and love the people I do that with. Like, there's no, I don't know. I think the music industry is all about getting critiqued. And as you all know, you are your worst critique. Like, you are your worst critic. So I think, I wish if there was one thing, like, I wish musicians could do, it would be stop. Like, stop. Not just musicians, but people in the industry. Like, be happy with what you're doing. You're doing it.
Right. And be happy with where you are along the path too.
Absolutely. Because if you're doing it, you're already 10 steps further than like the kids I went to college with that just gave up when they realized how much of a grind it is, you know?
So how do you balance the day job with working at night? Because I kind of forgot that you had a day job, because you're constantly answering my emails about dates and shows and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned it, but super fortunate to have a day job that knows what I do, and they let me do it when I'm there. You know,
That's
obviously day job comes first when I'm there, but if I'm caught up, they don't mind if I'm booking shows or working on a review. They know.
Okay.
So I know I'm super spoiled in that aspect, but very, very thankful.
Well, I'm sure that it wasn't the first day that you walked in and you're like, oh, by the way, I'm going to be working on an album review all day.
I think I waited till the third day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, cool. Well,
I
then,
mean, I wasn't going to hide it from them, and I didn't want to get in trouble. I wanted to be
yeah,
very transparent and be like, this
yeah,
is not, sure, this is my day job and I love it here and I plan on staying here, but this is not, the only thing I have going on in my life right now.
right. That's so mature, and that's really great to do. Because I mean, half the thing is just asking the question.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the worst thing that they could have said was no. And then, I would have stayed there for a couple of years and then probably moved on and found something else. But because they were like, we get it, as long as you keep up on day job stuff, you're fine. Do what you want.
That's so cool. That's like really refreshing.
Yeah.
As far as writing music reviews, how do you like digest the album and then write it? What's your method?
So I actually, I review as I'm listening to the album for the first time.
That's cool.
I go track by track, and my writing is seriously just like word vomit of what the song makes me think of, what the lyrics are making me feel. I mean, you can read some of my reviews and you can tell that something else was going on in my head because the review is just, nothing makes sense. But I think music is such an organic thing. Like, listening to music can spur whatever you want it to spur inside of you. You need to like convey that. So yeah, definitely not your typical reviewer.
And I'll link your blog in the description of this podcast, and then at the end of the episode we'll talk about where we can reach you for booking and stuff like that. So I do album reviews every once in a while, and I found out a few different things. Like, it is a little bit easier for me to make notes while I'm listening to it. Recently, what I did for one, it was like such a good album by Neil Alassi, and the name of the album was Walking in Circles. I actually went on a walk in my neighborhood, brought a pen and a paper, listened to it, and just scribbled notes like I do when I'm at a show and I'm reviewing the show. I scribble notes, and then later I come home and I go, oh yeah, instead of listening to it and then going back to it and being like, wait, what was I thinking the first time I listened to it? Because when I listen to it the first time, it's like this initiatory moment of connecting with the artist and meeting for the first time for their new album.
Absolutely.
What are some of the upcoming albums that you have that you're about to review? Like sitting on
I honestly, there's a whole list on my desk and a stack of CDs next to that. I don't even know. I think I recently got hooked up with a couple labels, so I'm trying to review everything they put out in the past 5 years. So it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way that we met is you are my booking agent. You help me book shows, and I think that we work really well together. What would you say to an artist who is just starting out to book their own shows? How should they reach out to venues? How do they know what venues to reach out to? How do they describe themselves? And what are some key points that you use as a booking agent to get in the ear of the person you're talking to?
Oh man, a lot of questions. So when I'm booking, I have a database of all the venues in the US that I've ever worked with and ones that I want to work with, along with the contact email and a name if I have a name. And basically all I do is I go through and I email every single contact in whatever area the musician wants to play. I always cast a wide net because you never know what venue's gonna want who or what date will work for who. And so I work just, again, with the day job, I work mostly on email because I can't be on the phone calling. So I just do a short and sweet email to the venue saying, hey, here's this artist, here's all their links, here's the date I'm looking for, and then just a really quick bio. I've gotten some emails from bands that are like 3 pages long. No, like, you need to keep it short and to the point. These people are busy, they don't need your life story in an email.
Right.
So if you're just starting out booking your own stuff, I hope you're not during the time of Corona. But just the biggest thing I learned in college was you have to keep things quick. These people don't need your life story. I mean, they don't have time. Put the date in the subject, put the venue in the subject, put your name, and that is it. And like, sweet and to the point.
Yeah. And also include links versus sending MP3s.
Yeah, never send an attachment because it can look like spam and they won't open it.
What links do you include?
Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, and a website if they have it. But that is it. There's no sense in adding Twitter. No one cares about your Twitter. You know, SoundCloud would be good so they can listen to your music. I struggle with Instagram just because I'm 30 and don't understand Instagram, so I try not to use it. But, you know, for me, it's Facebook and a website. Those are huge.
Yeah. Yeah, for Instagram, I mean, it's interesting. Like Instagram was the social media for my day and age, that is now TikTok for the younger kids. I'm on TikTok too, but I remember Instagram came out like my first year of college. I was like one of the first people on it. Yeah, it is pretty good for music because you can basically just have like an archive of all your flyers and all your little things that you've posted. You can do, it's like a really great way to just, you know, post a flyer. Like, here's what's going on. Here's how to find underneath, as well as they do have that live option for playing as a musician. I am starting to lean towards liking the Facebook Live a little bit better. And I'll tell you why. I'm a huge Instagrammer. I love Instagram. Don't get me wrong. But the algorithm like doesn't show lives to as many people. Because what it'll do, it'll have the stories at the top and it'll show you like when someone recently posted a story that's like a little 24-hour thing. And then at the beginning of your stories, it'll have people that are live. Instagram sends on the algorithm, they send the Instagram lives to less people, it seems, until you're on for a certain amount of time. Then they send it to some more. So it's like when you first log on, they show it to a good number of people. Then in 15 minutes, they send it to another group of people, just also depending on when people log on. And whereas on Facebook, I feel like maybe people are on Facebook longer at a time, or they're like more willing because it's a desktop feature. So they're more willing to sit and have the live there. I've also noticed that I get so many more views on Facebook. I think it's just a little bit more amiable for like housing the content, keeping it on there, tagging other people, and stuff like that. And I also started recently working on another app that's called BeGo Live, and that goes like internationally. So I just started on that. We'll see how that goes. So tell me about like, okay, so you started working with the booking agency. Will you work with B Squared Management Booking? And how did that come about?
I'm pretty sure Birdie, the owner, had posted something about looking for a show for someone.
So tell me, you work now with B Squared Management, who's my management company, as well. How did you start working with B Squared?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I found an ad that Birdie, the owner of B Squared, had placed just looking for some booking help. And I was bored at work and I'm like, oh, I can take on another project. And I answered it. And she hit me back and she's like, yeah, let's give it a go. And, you know, she gave me some artists to work with and I did. And she and I we clicked and I had a lot of fun booking her artists. And all of a sudden, before I knew it, it turned into like a legit job. And I will never forget, it was a week before my birthday last year and I'm at my friend's house and Birdie emailed me like, hey, what do you think about doing this full time? And I about died. I took like 3 shots of Fireball and then I texted her back and all I said was, yes, that is it. Just yes.
Yeah.
And honestly, like the amount of faith Birdie put in me, it changed my freaking life. And it was finally, that was like my aha moment of, sure, I still sell nuts and bolts during the day and, you know, not quite where I thought I'd be at 30, but here is this woman that sees what I think I have in me and she sees it, she's drawing it out of me and she's offering me this opportunity. Like it was easily one of the best days of my life, other than the hangover from the Fireball shots.
Well, you have to celebrate too, you know?
Absolutely. I will never forget. I was at my friend's house and I'm like, can you read this? Like, is this what she's asking? Is this a legit, do you think this is real? Like, is this happening? And my friend was like, calm down. I'm like, oh my God, this is happening. Yeah, so I've been with Birdie and B Squared for like a year now. It'll be a year next week, actually.
That's so great. Congratulations on the
Thank
1 year. And so I guess it's almost your birthday too.
It is August 3rd. So.
Happy almost birthday too.
Thank you.
That's cool about Birdie that she's such a positive person and she's such a hard worker. She does really bring out so much positivity and so much drive and motivation also in myself. She, emailed me and said, hey, we came across your music and was wondering if you're interested in like speaking with us for some management opportunities. We offer all sorts of services. And it was just like, whoa, is this real? Interesting. So then I was like, okay, let's give it a go. I started working with her for press and PR. Within the first week, she was like, here's an interview, here's an interview, here's an interview. I was like, oh my gosh. And it helped propel me into the next phase of my career and that next moment. And I'm really, really grateful for that. I've been working with B Squared almost a year and a half, but like a year, maybe in 4 or 5 months or something like that.
Yeah, it's a great team that is all about like finding your own drive, but you have people to kind of push you. And I think that's what everyone in the music industry needs right now when everything's shut down. It's just that person or that team behind you to be like, we will make it through this, and here are things we can do right now. And you can't give up right now. It's been she and the whole B Squared team and all the clients like you, like that's the only reason I'm still even trying to book shows or still even trying to make this work.
Yeah. I think that we are going to go into a new phase of like live streaming, because there's like, it is really nice to be able to sit at home and watch your favorite artist perform or watch an artist perform and stuff like that. And I think that it's good because it's allowing more reach for more artists, more music out there, more art, more performance. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to venues opening back up. I've seen, so we got the live stream thing. Something recently that I've started to see people do is they'll book a venue or work in collaboration with a venue and go live stream from their stage with their sound equipment, with the professional camera, and either pre-record it and then stream it as a live or stream it as a live from the venue. I think that's a really great idea. Also, I've seen the drive-in theater type things that it's almost like, you drive in, you can kind of get out of your car. I've also seen where there's vendors on both sides. I think there could be a mix between the two, because like at least in LA and in Texas, well, at least in LA, they've been opening up restaurants again. And what you do is you wear your little mask to the table, and then once you're at the table, that's how people stay socially distanced, is there's like the tables in between. So maybe we could move back to more of like a lounge atmosphere. Like at a venue, it could even be like a bigger venue like the Wiltern in LA that's probably like a 2,000-ish to 3,000-ish venue. I mean, they got that full section down below where the floor is. So they could put tables there and stuff. I think that'll start happening relatively soon.
I hope so.
Yeah, right. But also it's like a new phase. So we can't drop out now because it's just a new phase of transitioning online with stuff.
Right. And again, it's all about adaptability. You always have to be able to move with whatever comes at you. So this is a good example of that.
So what have you been doing during the quarantine time to stay sane?
Drinking. No, so I bought my first townhouse on February 7th, and I closed right before shutdown. So just purchasing a house when everything is shutting down, and it's like, I don't know if I'm still going to have a job. I mean, thankfully I was considered essential, so I thankfully never lost my job, but it was like just getting stuff for the house, and all the stores were shut down, and it's like, what the heck do you do? What did I do? And it's my first house, and my parents can't even come up and see it. My friends can't help me with it. It was intimidating, but all the time without the shows gave me a chance to get situated and get the cats happy and comfortable at home and get stuff hung on the walls. And that has been keeping me super busy during quarantine.
Staying sane, putting stuff away, hanging stuff on the wall. Hey, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise, because you were like, when am I going to have all this time to set up my townhouse? And then it's like, here, were you looking for time to stay home?
Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's
Yeah.
also like, I bought the townhouse because it was move-in ready. There was like nothing I had to do to this place. And now I find myself being like, I could paint the cabinets. Like, should I paint a wall? Like, just trying to find piddly little things to do around the house. Because now I'm starting to be like, everything's moved in, everything's put away. Now what?
Yeah.
So,
It's interesting, like, you know, being able to have all this time at home. I've been able to flourish in a different way, reaching out for podcasts and stuff like this, and you know, getting to know people on a deeper level because I'm communicating more with people rather than just in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And it's been, you know, I always look at like the gold lining and silver lining of everything. So I'm glad you've moved into your new place and that you like it there.
Yes, it's been great. Yes.
That's great. That's so great. I'll tell you what, during this time, I've really wanted some kitty cats, though.
Don't do it. It's a trap.
Well, I love the kitties, but I'm just thinking about how, just like when I travel and stuff, you know, because I have to have someone come watch them every day.
Yep.
We come by once a day, and I travel a lot, you know, for music.
Yeah, I have to be honest. I was really close to getting a dog, and then I had to keep on thinking, like, once this, you know, quarantine lets up, I'm back to shows. I can't do a dog in here, so.
Yeah. Have you been working from home for your day job, or are they bringing you into the office?
They gave us the option to work from home, but I'm the type of person, I need the routine. So I went in every day for the sake of my own mental health. So
That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was, again, clearly I love my day job. So they're great people and they understand. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you could say that you have a certain mission or a drive in life, is there something that you always kind of come back to as like your mission statement or your reason for doing what you do?
I am a person that follows my passion. So I guess I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Like, my drive is just my passion. I have to wake up every day and be happy and go to bed every day and be happy. And if I'm not, then I need to change something. And, you know, it's all about like just making sure you get up and go to bed happy every day.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. So.
Right. What would you say to musicians who are kind of just starting out? Do you have any advice for them?
Ooh, don't give up because of how crazy everything is right now. You know, the grind is harder now than it ever has been. You have to grind, you have to put in time. And like you were talking about, now is a great time to establish relationships, whether that's with venues, with labels, with producers. I mean, there's a million people you can meet right now. And now's the time to do it because you can't really do anything else. So put the grind in now. You have all this extra time. Do it now. And then when shows come back, then you can spend time focusing on shows or recording or touring or, you know, take advantage. This time sucks because everyone feels like they're kind of in limbo, but you're not. You just need to find better uses for your time.
What are some of the things that people can do to meet producers, labels, other people to work with? Where can they communicate with people?
Facebook, Instagram. I don't, does TikTok do messaging? I mean, honestly,
kind of,
social media. Like, do they?
Yeah, it kind of, but it's like, it's such a like transient app. You're like on and you want to see the funny videos that other people do. I mean, I've started to follow creators that I like specifically, but the page where the new stuff shows up is always continuously refreshing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, social media is a blessing and a curse, but use it for the blessing part. You can talk to producers, you can talk to other bands, like you were talking about meeting these people and then you're collaborating with them. Like you can still do that now and collaborate on a recording and do it from being socially distant or in different states. Like, you have the time to produce it right now. You have the time to mash it up and make it work. Do it.
Yeah, totally.
And everyone is the same. We're all sitting at home on our phones at night. It's not like we're going out partying. So they're doing the same thing you are. They're probably reaching out or waiting for someone to reach out to them. You know, just, again, the worst thing that happens is someone says no. Use your time. Instead of watching Netflix all night, get on your phone or your laptop and just do some emailing.
What would you say to musicians who do get that no? how did you just keep going? I mean, the
take a shot and get over it. You're
Yeah.
going to get denied 1.5 million times in this
Right.
industry. I mean, you're going to get denied, you're going to get blasted, you're going to get judged. Take it with a grain of salt. Again, it goes back to wake up happy and go to bed happy.
Right.
You do you. So
it's funny because like I can be a little bit hypercritical of myself, and you're right. At the end of the day, it's like, well, okay, I'll have like a pit in my stomach, and I'm like, well, didn't I just create this pit by like nitpicking at everything? Well, you did this, and then you did this, and you got this stupid picture of yourself behind you. How egotistical can you be? And then it's like, wait, it's like it's like super okay, because I can look on the other side of things. I'm like, okay, yes, I'm performing with a picture of myself behind me, and it's like egotistical or whatever. Or I can look at it like, no, it actually comes off very professional. The fact that you took the time to get something printed out, it shows that you gig out at other shows and you have a way for people to find you. You're on top of things. You probably got business cards in your pocket. People like to know who you are. They're tuning in to watch you perform anyway. They're tuning in to watch. So yeah, like, and just not being too nitpicky of the way things go too. Yeah. I get a little bit like, this is like the end of the world type situation. Like, let's say I get a comment back from someone and it's a no, or it's a maybe or something. I'm like, this is the end of, or sometimes it's a yes. And I'm worried, they're going to take away that yes from me. Like, they already said, yes, we'd like to have you for this piece of press. And I'm like, well, we got to get it done now, because like they might take away the yes, they might change their mind. It's like, why would they change their mind if they already give you a yes? Relax. Go write a song.
Even if they changed their mind, then it wasn't worth your time. I mean,
true.
There's so many different outlets. There's so many people. You don't need to please everyone.
Right. You just got to be yourself, and then also be like kind when presenting yourself too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Or be an asshole when presenting yourself if that's who you are, and you'll have, maybe it'll work and maybe it won't. You have to stay true to yourself, or else you'll never make it in this.
Stay true to yourself, because also like when you go to sleep at night, that's the person that you're with. It's so like awkward going to sleep. I deal with this sometimes with like anxiety or something. If I did something that wasn't completely true to me that day, even just being like overly nice, and that's okay, I'll still feel a little bit uneasy, like, wow, you really were really nice today, and you didn't like feel that way. And that's all right too, but then I have to work through the in-between section of what I said and what I felt, and either reach out to that person and go, this is sometimes more true in like relationships, where I'm like, hey, by the way, when I said it was okay about something else that you did, I really wanted to say this is like how I felt about it. So thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, absolutely. I've got one more question for you. Yeah. When an artist reaches out to venues or potential management or potential clients, how many times should they follow up, and how often?
I'm the worst. I will follow up until I either hear something back or the date passes for a show. I mean, I will follow up every day, like every 2 weeks, I think is my rule. And some venues will snap at you and ask to be like never contacted again, which is fine. Other venues still like won't respond, persistence is key, and I think that's something that you need to have in the industry. But at the same time, it's gonna piss some people off. You're gonna, make some people mad. You just, again, stay true to yourself. I'm a persistent person, so I will email a venue every 2 weeks for a show, and if I don't hear from them, that sucks, but I'll try it again with the next artist, because you never know. Maybe you were asking for the wrong date. Maybe they hated your band name. Maybe they were in a crappy mood. Maybe it was raining out and they were sad. Like, you don't know why they're not responding.
Right. You just got to keep reaching out. Yeah, persistence, and then continue making new music and doing new stuff. Because there's been a lot of things that are like kind of like turnkeys in my career, where it's like, oh, well, I'll reach out to someone and then maybe don't hear a response, and then I'll reach out again and they'll go, oh, well, I just came out with this new song. And they're like, we love the song. We'd love to work together. Or I'll be like, I just secured this other piece of press. Would you be interested in doing a similar interview? And they're like, whoa, you got that piece of press? Of course, we'd love to. So just like checking in with them, updating them on new stuff. I think it's also a really good thing to do is to have something new to bring to the table each time. So if there's a particular management company that you want to work with, introduce yourself. If there's no bites, come back with a single. No bites, come back with more press and another single or stuff like that. And they're like, oh, well, this person really is a hard worker. If we would have started working with them 3 months ago, then we would have had a chunk of this pie, but now we're joining in at this point, and that's okay too. Okay, so tell us, how can we reach you if you are listening and you're a prospective client or someone who is an artist or a venue interested in booking, how should we reach out to you in that way?
Yeah, for booking, you can always find me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/distractionsinc. So Distractions Inc.
Mm-hmm.
If you want me to review any of your music, I'm always looking for new music to review. So just girl@therockshows.com, and it'll have all my contact info there.
Girl@therockshow.com.
Rock shows, plural. But yeah, like the Blink-182 show.
Yeah.
Yes. 182 song.
Girl@therockshows.com.
Yep.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on my podcast today. And if you could stick around a little bit after, I'd love to talk to you about some upcoming dates for me too.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We will be back in 2 weeks with a new episode of the Politics of Kendra. If you're lucky, we'll talk about politics, but it'll probably just be music and culture. We'll see you then. Peace.